that's a tough one. Now, will they want to watch the fight of the century with the heavyweights for 4 belts? Will they want to watch that, or will they want to watch somebody who's not answered why he failed his drug test against a 36-year-old Chris? Is it 35, 36-year-old Chris Eubank for what belt they fighting for?
No belts on the line.
No belt is there. There's a pair of braces. I don't know. Whatever they're fighting, who cares? I don't care. We'll keep hearing about it as this fight. Don't clear up all the problems. All I know is the fight that we got signed, whenever it goes on, is going to be a fight that everybody has an interest in boxing. I want to see it because it's boxing at the highest level.
And those are the words of Frank Warren as he takes a dig at Eddie Hearn and his fighter, Mr. Ben. Okay, Conor Ben, of course, failed a drug test. And Eddie Hearn has been trying to put together a clash between Conor Ben and Chris Eubank Jr. And how Frank approached that dig is, he was like, well, you got a guy that failed a drug test against a 35, 36-year-old guy. So how confident is he? But he's like, hey, and I know everybody will want to see Usyk and Tyson Fury, which is signed. And let me counterpunch. I think Eddie, based on what we heard from Frank Warren, just looking at these two fights, okay, one signed, sealed, delivered for every belt, and another for two guys that are very well known, two British guys that are an extended leg from royalty, boxing royalty. But then it's been tainted, and it's trying to get reconstructed, a year later. Okay, so if anything, I believe that Eddie Hearn should be really focusing on bigger fights. And then see, Frank, he has the one up because Frank has delivered the fight that everybody wanted to see. Now, to be fair, that fight should have been done. The progression of boxing shouldn't, have a time limit on it, and we shouldn't have to wait for fights like this. However, the good news is the fight is signed, sealed, and delivered. So as long as that fight goes through this year or whenever it happens, like next year, we know that's pretty much valid for the time they're supposed to sign. Whereas Eddie Hearn, he's trying to get Conor Ben in a position to fight Chris Eubank Jr., also a fight that should have already happened, but really nobody asked for. It was just him trying to be creative and raise the bar, but at the same time, you have to keep your certain standards of fighters and expectations the way they're supposed to be. If you guys can remember, Eddie Hearn said that he's gonna stop paying for fights that we don't want to see. Well, here's the thing. Nobody really wants to see Conor Ben and Chris Eubank Jr. the way they want to see Usyk versus Tyson Fury. That's not even in a comparison. You can't even compare those. Okay, so if anything, I think Eddie Hearn should focus on fights like Anthony Joshua versus Deontay Wilder and how can we make that fight happen. And the Saudi Arabia money is always tempting for everybody, but at the same time, if you can't get that, get something second best to it. And Chris Eubank Jr. versus Conor Ben is not second to that. Okay, that's a fight that, it was interesting, but everybody was worried that Chris was too big. And then Conor, sure, he's mean like a badger and this, that, and the other. And he's the son of Nigel Benn, and Chris Eubank Jr. is the son of Chris Eubank Sr. And, those guys got it on. So I get that to a certain degree. But at the end of the day, though, it was a certain reason that fight didn't take place. Let's just put it like that. Let's leave it like that. That's the reason that fight did not happen. Okay, so it does give people like Frank Warren room to dig. Opportunity, holes, right? Counterpunching opportunities to say exactly what he said. But does he have a great argument? He does. Because at this point, you're looking at Eddie Hearn and you're wondering, what is Eddie Hearn doing? What has he been doing lately? Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Ben, sure, I get it, but that's pretty much what you've been hearing from Eddie Hearn. And then, guys like he's lost Canelo to PBC, and then Anthony Joshua, he's going into another bullshit fight with him, so we hear. You know what I mean? Until it gets announced. But if it's I get Kabayel, or it's somebody lower opposition, we've already seen there, been there, done that this year twice, 2 times. You know what I mean? So yeah, the accountability factor from Eddie, it seems like it's in the hands of Frank Warren as of right now. Frank Warren has already had Usyk against Daniel Dubois. Now he has Usyk against Tyson Fury for total undisputed. You know, like those are the fights that people want to see, not the fights that you put together that people may watch. Okay. And then see, by the way, a lot of people are still pissed at Conor Ben, and they're still really side-eyeing him, and they don't really trust him right now fully because of what had already happened. So you have to take that into account. But just pushing someone into a fight, you know, based on whatever, you know what I mean, assumption that people will like it, I don't think is the right idea. But anyway, you guys tell me what you think of Frank Warren blasting Eddie Hearn, digging hard and at Eddie Hearn, that he has got the undisputed fight, and Eddie Hearn is supporting a fight and putting energy into a fight that Conor Ben, which is a much younger than Chris Eubanks Jr., had to test positive or possibly allegedly take something. Of course, please subscribe, and you guys been Counterpunch. Peace!